Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast brought to you by our good friends over at Walk-Ons. Make sure you check out Walk-Ons tomorrow where it's happy hour all day long. It's a great place for happy hour to watch your favorite sports games. And if you want delicious food and a great assortment of drinks, there's no better place to go to than Walk-Ons. There are 3 in the Tampa Bay area, one over in Wesley Chapel, another in Lakeland, and another in Midtown Tampa, not too far from Raymond James Stadium. Eat like a winner and drink like a champ over at Walk-Ons. It is a Monday evening edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Appreciate everybody that is rocking and rolling with us tonight. Pewter Report made the drive from Tampa, Florida, over to Mobile, Alabama. So we are live in Mobile, getting ready for the Senior Bowl as the Senior Bowl kicks off tomorrow, where we're going to be looking at the best prospects from the Senior Bowl that the Bucs might be interested in. So we'll talk all about the Senior Bowl, previewing that, some other Bucs news, and of course, we'll answer any questions and super chats that you may have. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Right next to me is my co-host and colleague from PewterReport.com, SR, Scott Reynolds. Scott, we made it through the drive. We're here. Yes. We're all in one piece. We just need Josh Cabo.
That's right. It's colder here in Alabama than it is in Florida, even though we're just about 30 minutes away from Florida. It feels like it's about 30 degrees difference in terms of the temperature here. But we're excited to, that's right, Mobile, home of Mardi Gras.
We saw a lot of Mardi Gras stuff, the guardrails, they're getting ready to go.
Yeah.
Which it's going to be freezing. Like, I don't know how you stay outside and party in Mardi Gras when it's freezing cold. Yeah. It's not like Gasparilla in Tampa. But
that's right.
Anyway.
So New Orleans stole Mardi Gras from Mobile. They actually had it first here in Mobile. So interesting little fun fact there. Just another reason to hate the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
Right there. This is going to be a fun week. The Buccaneers, if you have not read Bailey Adams' dissertation on all of the Jason Light draft picks that have occurred from the Senior Bowl, the Bucs have drafted a lot of them. What's the number, Bailey? 29? 32. 32 players since 2014 under Jason Light's watch as the general manager have come from the Senior Bowl. It seems like there was a couple of years where there was like 5 guys from the Senior Bowl that were drafted by the Buccaneers, but the average is about 2. And if you were able to check out the mock draft podcast that we did on Sunday, Josh Capo and I did a mock draft podcast that had 3 players from that particular mock draft that are going to be at the Senior Bowl. Dennis Sutton, the 3rd round pick from Penn State. J.C. Davis, the Illinois offensive lineman, was the other one. And then Lee Hunter, the defensive tackle from Texas Tech, the 2nd round pick. So 3 of those players were from that will be in the mock draft, are here at the Senior Bowl this week. There were a couple of notable defections. That kind of happens from time to time. It's not terribly uncommon to have some of the better players at the Senior Bowl opt out once they kind of agreed. That's probably the agents talking. And for guys like Akeem Mesidor, the talented edge rusher from Miami, he just played a football game a week ago.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're Miami or Indiana, and there are a couple of Indiana players that won a national championship and then are playing in the Senior Bowl, but your body's got to be banged up. You just went through the longest football season of your career. A lot of these players, and some of the big names like Mesidor, who you're talking about, Ruben Bain too, balled out in the national championship, despite Miami not being able to pull it off. And that was a great game. But your tape ultimately is one of the biggest things that will convince a team to draft you. And I think Bain, Mesidor, a lot of people on offense and defense from Indiana and Miami really showed out. So would love to watch them live, but you kind of understand that's the nature of the business.
Yeah, D'Angelo Ponce, a great cornerback from Indiana, undersized, kind of a feisty spark plug of a cornerback. Initially accepted the invitation, then said, I just played and won a national championship. I'm good for now. David Bailey, the Texas Tech Red Raider edge rusher, also not participating in this game. Not terribly surprising. You look at Bailey, he's projected to be a top 10 pick. He does not have to come here and really do anything to prove himself. What is he going to do? Go from 10 to 8, from 9 to 7, wherever he's going to get drafted. He has already cemented his showcase from the game film, what he was able to do at Texas Tech in a tremendous run there. So he is not going to be here. There'll still be plenty of edge rushers to take a look at. One of those players that will be here is Romelo Height, who was the bookend over there at Texas Tech, played opposite David Bailey. Romelo Height is a juice guy. He's a smaller edge rusher. When I say smaller, I mean he's definitely not the size of David Bailey. And Bailey's not a big guy. He's 250 pounds. Romelo Height checked in today, even lighter, and that's not too much of a surprise. 6'2", 234. So, Matt, we just got through covering Hassan Reddick from the Buccaneers, who was about 6'1", 240 pounds. So this is a Hassan Reddick-sized player. Obviously, Hassan Reddick is at the end of his career, 31 years of age. But Romelo Height is 25, or he will be this year. So really, he's not a 21-year-old edge rusher. Some of these guys, like Akeem Mesidor, Romelo Height, they played 5-6 years in college. They're part of that COVID cycle that is now kind of cycling out of college football, that extra year. So that's a decision Jason Light and Todd Bowles and Rob McCarty and Mike Beal are going to have to weigh with some of these older prospects. Is it worth taking? Or if you look at the bright side and say maybe these guys are more physically developed, maybe they're more mature, maybe they're ready to play.
Yeah, it's an intriguing conversation to have. We spoke about it a little bit on the Pewter Insider that we have last Friday, so make sure you become a Pewter Platinum or Premier member so you can get that bonus show. And in some circumstances, maybe you don't want a player that's a little bit older because they kind of already are what they are, and how much more can they develop or how much can you really afford to. But if you're Jason Light and Todd Bowles and you need to win now, especially the latter of those people in Todd Bowles, maybe you need somebody that's kind of like ready to go right away. And Romelo Height certainly fits that situation for Tampa Bay. Maybe he wasn't the number one guy in Texas Tech just based on their other stud player right there. But, I mean, he has the look, Romelo Height. He has the look of a guy that is just intense, all the athletic attributes that you could really ask for, and is able to get after the quarterback. So maybe he wasn't 1A, but I wouldn't even say he was 1B either. And he certainly brings a different skill set than like Yaya Diaby to be able to help out this team, which is obviously super important.
Different body type. And you look at a couple of these undersized, and I mean undersized, edge rushers that are having success around the league. Nick Herbig, right, from the Steelers. Nick Pitino from the Denver Broncos. Guys that are 235, 240 pounds, maybe soaking wet, that are really built more like linebackers, but are full-on pass rushers coming off the edge. So maybe there's a role for someone like Romelo Height, who did have a double-digit sack season. I want to say he had 10 sacks. He's bounced around college football.
Yeah, he's been everywhere.
He's a nomad.
Every season, a new team. And I don't know, I think it gets overlooked in the draft. Like when you get selected to a new team, it might be an area you've never lived in before or a different side of the country. You miss your family, your teammates and stuff like that. So a guy that's well-traveled, that's been pretty much everywhere, you can almost kind of rest your head knowing that, they're going to a new place, but it's a situation that they haven't conquered before. So that's one of those outlier things where ultimately maybe it's not the number one thing you're thinking about, but I think it's another tangible thing that can certainly be important.
Yeah. This is an interesting comment here from Icewater Olson. Light gets Senior Bowl guys early too. He has always gotten one in rounds 2 or 3 every season. Yeah. You look at Jacob Parrish last year, a 3rd-round pick. He was here, the Kansas State cornerback. Yaya Diaby was a 3rd-round pick here as well.
Cody Mauch, 2nd round. 2nd round.
Unfortunately, Chris Braswell, 2nd round.
Yeah.
I will say this. We're looking hard at edge rushers, despite the fact that there will be no David Bailey, no Ruben Bain, no Akeem Mesidor. There will be some pretty good edge rushers here. Even if the Buccaneers don't get one in the 1st round, the guys that we're going to be looking at are probably going to be in the 2nd or 3rd round. And we'll get to those guys in just a second. But it's interesting to note that Jason Light has drafted an edge rusher from the Senior Bowl in each of the last 3 years. Yaya Diaby from Louisville in 2023. Yeah, that's a good pick. Chris Braswell the next year from Alabama. Not so good. David Walker from Central Arkansas last year.
Medium. We don't know yet.
We don't know.
Unfortunately, tore his ACL in training camp. So redshirt year for him in the NFL. And that's the caveat when it comes to the Bucs pass rush this year, and what they're going to do at edge rusher is, what do they get from David Walker? If it's anything, it's a plus and it's a bonus. But I do think Tampa Bay should kind of operate during this draft process, and certainly with the Senior Bowl, that David Walker's unfortunately not going to bring anything. We'll see.
Expect nothing and hope for something, and hope for a lot. But as Felix Schmidt says, we need some dogs. Yeah, well, that's another guy too. Tyke Smith, the safety from Georgia. He's actually a bulldog, but he is a dog in the secondary. He was also a Senior Bowl player. So you're spot on, Pewter people, as always, when you look at the fact that this team has drafted a lot of day 2 players from the Senior Bowl. And then there's some day 3 guys, Gervasio Dennis, Payne Durham. Those were some players. Rashad White was a running back here, 3rd-round pick from the Senior Bowl. So that's why we're here, to talk to these players, get a feel for them, because this is a spot where the Buccaneers do mine for talent, much more so than the East-West Shrine Bowl. They might take a player or two, but not like the guys here in Mobile.
Yeah, there's just more to bring to the table with these players from the Senior Bowl. And if you do well enough in the East-West Shrine, they typically ship you over to the Senior Bowl as well. So, I mean, there's been years we were talking about on the drive up how Scott talked to Josh Allen one year. I was here when Michael Penix Jr. Well, we were all here, but Michael Penix Jr. I remember when Jalen Hurts was quarterback and Daniel Jones. So,
I was here for the Tim Tebow year.
Right. There's so much talent that comes out of the Senior Bowl. So there might not be household names just yet, but, just wait a little bit of time. And then all of a sudden they're going to be people that you're reading about every single day, maybe even on PewterReport.com, like Tez Johnson. He was a Senior Bowl standout last year, and
certainly was.
Then he entertained us nonstop, whether it was on the football field or on the mic in front of the camera. So that's why Senior Bowl is very, very important for Pewter Report, and we want to make sure you're all informed.
Wound up with 5 touchdowns this year too, right? One behind Emeka Egbuka, who had 6. Tez Johnson, more touchdowns than either Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. It's kind of amazing. That? Yeah, who had that in their bingo card with the 7th-round pick? Let's look at some of these edge rushers, Matt, just to kind of set the table for the position group we're going to be looking at hard. And it just so happens that there's some pretty good talent. It's not great. It's not elite. I don't think there's a guy that's a surefire Pro Bowler here. But, we'll see. We'll see who ends up making the most of this week, upping their stock, going to the right team, and then has a really good rookie season and a good start to their career. One of the players that fans may not know a lot about is Gabe Akis out of Illinois. He was the 2nd leading sacker in Illinois history behind Simeon Rice. That's not a bad name if you're a Buccaneer fan. You know who Simeon Rice is. But and it's spelled Jacas, but it's pronounced with the silent J. And this is a player that I really kind of started to follow a lot last year. And what I like about him is he looks, in terms of his build, like Yaya Diaby. He is well put together. He's muscular, strong, like all of those traits are there. But when you look at the production, it's gone up. He had the first 2 seasons, 4 sacks apiece. Then he had 8 sacks as a junior and then finished with 11. So the arrow was pointing up. He got better every year. He had 3 forced fumbles in 2023, 3 forced fumbles last year. So I like the consistency. I look for consistency. And he had 74 tackles his junior year, 43 this past season. It dipped a little bit. He was a bit of a marked man. But you know what? 13 tackles for loss in 2023, 13 and a half tackles for loss last year. Again, you're not getting a guy that's kind of a one-year wonder, a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
This is a player that I think in the scouting world is well known, but amongst fans, maybe not, just because he played in the Big Ten, played at Illinois, wasn't a big flashy program. But Matt, I think he's going to turn some heads this week. He has the opportunity to, and certainly a day 2 guy. We'll see if that's a day 3 pick like Yaya, or if he ends up rising to the 2nd round. I
thought it was cool. There's a scout from The Athletic named Bruce Feldman who makes a massive freaks list every single year, and Akis was on that list. One thing that I find really cool about him is that he grew up as a wrestler, high school, college wrestling, all that type of stuff. And the traits of a wrestler, they're low, they're to the ground, they have a good first step, and they work well with their hands. So you got to grab your opponent, stuff like that. There's a player on the Bucs that's in the trenches on the other side of the football that has a wrestling background. His name is Tristan Wirfs.
That's right.
And Tristan Wirfs has worked out really damn well. And so much of being in the trenches, whether you're a D lineman, edge rusher, or offensive lineman, it's about the hand fighting and winning in the trenches. So when you have all the power in the world, like Akis does, that wrestling background and mentality, it's actually super helpful. It's not something people at home are, watching a ton of high school wrestling and college wrestling and stuff like that. But those like little subtle moves, that's why they tell athletes play other sports besides the one sport that you're in, because you never know what you're going to pick up. So I think it's really cool. He's got that wrestling background that can kind of help him in his hand-to-hand combat.
27 career sacks. Now, Simeon Rice had a lot more to at Illinois, but Simeon Rice was
Simeon
also
Rice.
It was a top 5, top 10 pick when he came out too, an All-American. But what I like about Akis is I think he's slightly more instinctive than Yaya Diaby is, right? And I've always said, Yaya is a good edge rusher, right? Is he the alpha? Is he that double-digit guy that you want or maybe need on this team? No, but I'm curious. If you can get another Yaya Diaby, if you had to settle for another 7-sack guy, that's a hell of an upgrade from what you had, and you're still continuing to look for that double-digit sack guy. Maybe it doesn't happen this year. Maybe it happens the year after that. But there was such a deficiency. It was bankrupt on the other side between Hassan Reddick, who was a no-show last year, Anthony Nelson, who showed up for the Saints game and really kind of disappeared after that, and Chris Braswell, who literally is just a bust. I mean, we have to say that. So Yaya was doing yeoman's work from the right side, and just there wasn't anything opposite him. So I think, if anything, if he can get you 6, 7, 8 sacks on the other side, that provides a little bit of balance, to your pass rush. And then if Kalijah Cancy comes back, maybe that's good enough to show some real progress in defense.
Right. It's tough to say, but the bar has never been lower to be an edge rusher in Tampa Bay. When you think about all the talent they've had, like you mentioned, Simeon Rice and Shaq and JPP, when not this time, but the last time he is with the Bucs
in his prime.
Yes, and now the bar has never been lower. But you mentioned Kalijah Cancy, and that's a big X factor going into the 2026 season, even just beyond the edge rushers and defensive linemen that we're going to be looking at. Because when Kalijah Cancy is on the field, he does great things for Tampa Bay's defense, and he opens things up for everyone else, whether it's Yaya on the edge. Of course, Vita Vea has really benefited, and it goes both ways. It's vice versa. Kalijah Cancy has benefited from Vita Vea a ton as well, but he can't stay healthy that much. But if Kalijah Cancy can find a way, I'm not even going to ask for 17 games. I'm going to ask for 14 games. 14 games, Kalijah Cancy. Can we do it? Can we do it? If he's able to play at least that amount, it opens up a lot more for the pass rush that Tampa Bay wants to bring, because it was
so disruptive, right? So disruptive that he's going to force that quarterback to go left or right into one of those edge rushers, not be able to step up in the pocket. That was something that was really missing. So another edge rusher that we're going to be looking at is T.J. Parker from Clemson. An interesting story with him. Is a 3-year player. You see a lot of these guys that come out and, they were 5 years, 6 years at different schools because of the COVID year, that benefit year, the bonus year they were given. But 3 seasons at playing next to Peter Woods, that Clemson defensive line has been pretty good. There's been good linebacker play behind it. His first year, 12.5 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks. Kind of established himself as a freshman. Sophomore year, he absolutely blew up, right? 18.5 sacks. I'm sorry, 18.5 tackles for loss, 11 sacks, 6 forced fumbles. 6.
That's unreal.
Yes. and then this past year, with high expectations, settled back into 5 sacks. And again, Clemson as a team took a step back.
Yeah.
The defense as a Tigers unit took a step back. He was part of that taking a step back process. But 9.5 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, not bad, certainly not bad. But I think that's going to be the question mark about him is what happened to the guy that we saw that was getting the ball out? What happened to the guy that we saw was an absolute menace? I think that player's still in there. He showed you what he's capable of. And the interesting thing about him is he's 21 years old. So this is a completely different, polar opposite, other end of the spectrum from a guy like Romelo Height, from a guy like Akeem Messidor, who were 24, going to be 25. He got married during his bye week.
Yeah. Thinking about focusing on a game and then focusing on his wedding.
Yeah. And he just said, hey, we love each other and we just want to get married.
Can't wait.
Yeah. During the bye week. And then it's like, honey, we'll do the we'll do the honeymoon after I get drafted. Let me just focus on football. And she's like, yeah, sure, do your thing.
Our honeymoon will be where I get drafted.
That's right. Exactly, yeah. But this is a player that plays with physicality, hustle, effort. He's got some real athleticism to him. He's got good technique. I've seen him in mocks at the end of the first round. He's certainly a second-round prospect, but this could be a riser. This could be a player that really kind of takes off in Mobile this week and maybe establishes himself as saying, okay, Ruben Bain, you're not playing. David Bailey, you're not playing. I'll step up and be the best edge in Mobile. We'll have to see. I'm really looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of those players, like if you're ranking tier 1, tier 2 edge rushers, whether it's the Senior Bowl or the whole draft, he's not in that tier 1 category just yet, but he absolutely can. And we've seen this before with other players in previous drafts. Like Jermaine Johnson is a guy that comes to mind from Florida State. Balled out in the Senior Bowl. You know when a player balls out when they don't play in the third practice. You're like, I did so well. I don't need to play.
My work here is done.
In a third practice. But Parker, high motor, no doubt about that. The football IQ is off the charts as well. He's a guy that you can rely on. You know he's going to be in the right situation, and the relentlessness. That's something that I believe Tampa Bay needs. Just relentless pursuit over and over and over. Never give up on a play. I mean, how many times do we see the Bucs collide into each other or something happen as they're getting after the quarterback? Even if you get down, get back up, go out and make the play. That's what Parker does.
And I didn't see Hassan Reddick have much gusto at certain times. You know, he was kind of a hired gun. It just didn't work out.
Now, granted, a lot of the guys were already open by then because of the linebackers and miscommunication in the secondary. But I digress.
Yeah, we talked about Romelo Height a little bit. One thing about Romelo Height is he's undersized. Now, again, David Bailey, not the biggest guy, 6'3", 250 pounds. That's David Bailey, number 31. That's Romelo Height, number 9. So he's well put together, but he is shorter and thinner. I mean, he looks like an inside linebacker in terms of his build more than an edge rusher. So how is he going to be able to hold up against some of these Senior Bowl offensive tackles? Is he going to get engulfed? Is he going to be able to use the quickness to turn the corner? Is he going to show enough power? Does he have enough bull rush to maybe shock one of these guys with a quick burst off the line? And we've seen it before. We saw Mike Green. We saw Donovan Ezeraku in years past. Undersized guys that have really taken it to tackles and bowled him over. So that's going to be a big test for Romelo Height is with a smaller stature, how will he compete against some of these NFL caliber offensive tackles? So again, Romelo Height, probably a second or third round pick, certainly a day 2 guy. This is a big week for him, just like it is for TJ Parker, figuring out, with Parker, is he a first or second rounder? With Romelo Height, is he a second or third rounder?
And that's what makes me so excited for, I think one of the best things to watch at the Senior Bowl. Yeah, you can watch one-on-one between receiver and corner or running back and tight end. But, there's so many variables. Like in an actual game, there's an offensive line. There's a safety over the top and stuff like that. But you can get a true blue answer about how good a player is when it's the one-on-one pass blocking, offensive tackle versus edge rusher, center versus defensive tackle. Yes, there are some variables in that. What's the type of play and stuff like that? But it's just mano-a-mano.
Nowhere to run.
Nowhere to hide. And I love, too, when you have everyone on the D-line. They'll have all 5, O-line, D-line. And you don't know who's rushing until it happens. And then you either get a pancake block or a steamroll. How good's that swim move? How good is that rip? And that's what we're going to find out with a lot of these guys.
And the other thing, too, is there's no gaming or stunting. There's no manufactured sack opportunity. It's you got to beat the tackle. Right? If you're a defensive tackle, you got to beat the guard, you got to beat the center, right? And so I love that. It's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, and we're going to see that. Speaking of, we'll take a look at kind of the last edge rusher we're going to feature, and there's some other guys too. The Senior Bowl, there have been some surprises. We'll see if Zion Young from Missouri, who is a really big, good athlete, looks the part, 6'5", 262. Has good athleticism, doesn't have a lot of sack production though, 6.5 sacks. And I'm a big production guy. I want to know, have you done it? Because if you've done it before, chances are you have a chance to do it again. If you've never done it at the college level, the chances that you're all of a sudden going to become a double-digit sacker at the NFL level, if you've only had 6 sacks, in one season in college, that's more of an uphill climb. So I like to see production, consistency, The one-year wonders kind of scare me a little bit. And I think that's even why, like with Yaya Diaby, he's been a late bloomer because he had only that 1 9-sack season at Louisville. He had kind of a slow burn early in his career, and then finally kind of had that breakout year. And of course, the Senior Bowl helped his cause. But one of the players that again has been quite consistent is a player that was featured in our mock draft in the 3rd round for the Buccaneers, and that is Dennis Sutton, number 33 right there for the Nittany Lions. This is he's an energetic player. I think he's got a little psycho to him. There's a little bit of like wildness in his game that I really like. And when you look at him, and we've seen some of these guys here, right? Chop Robinson, remember Adisa Isaac was here. Chop Robinson, who's Abdul Carter. He's been behind 3 really good, talented NFL caliber edge rushers. Some of those guys have gotten drafted super high, like Abdul Carter, high in the 1st round. Chop Robinson was a late 1st round pick. But when he's had the opportunity to get on the field, these last 2 seasons, again, I'm talking about consistency. 42 tackles in 2024, 42 tackles in 2025. 13 tackles for loss in 2024, 12 tackles for loss in 2025. 8.5 sacks in 2024, 8.5 sacks in 2025. 2 forced fumbles in 2024, 3 forced fumbles in 2025. He had 3 pass defense in each of those seasons. He's kind of like what you see is what you're going to get. He's that type of a pass rusher where he has good size. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Diaby. He's a little mechanical, doesn't have maybe the best bend, but he's rated as a 3rd round pick. Again, I'm intrigued if this team doesn't come away with an elite edge rusher either in the 1st round or Max Crosby, and you have to settle for drafting a day 2 edge rusher. Well, give me another guy who can get 60 pressures a year in 7.5 sacks. Like that's not the end of the world. And it would be a huge step in the right direction for Tampa Bay if they had to settle for a guy like Dennis Sutton.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with having someone that is a model of consistency. And he has NFL-ready size. They have him measured at 6'5", 268. So he's ready to go right there. You would like to see him add a couple of more pass-rushing moves to his arsenal. And some guys are able to do that right away, and other guys, it kind of takes some time to develop. I mean, I'm still asking for that from Yaya Diaby, but he certainly has
something other than the bull rush.
Yeah, something other. Yeah, I'm begging Yaya for. I don't care how many freaking calisthenics he's doing and all the yoga and stuff. That's great, but actually put in a different type of move. But Dennis Sutton for sure has that violent nature that again you want to see in an edge rusher, and that's what you're talking about again with maybe having a little bit of a screw loose, but certainly the production is there, and you want to see how it grows and continues at the next level.
One of the positions we've talked about before, and we're going to talk about inside linebacker, which is probably the top need. I mean, let's face it, Matt. We have 2 guys on the roster right now under contract. Servassier Dennis, the starter at middle linebacker, who is so-so. We'll see how he fares in his contract year, but time flies, and he's already into year 4.
Crazy.
The other guy is Nick Jackson, who was a practice squad player for most of the year, was brought up to the active roster for a couple games, played in special teams. A pretty decent preseason, but didn't make the club. I mean, he was on the practice squad all year. That's it. Levante David, Anthony Walker Jr., Deion Jones, all 3 of those linebackers are restricted free agents and probably not returning.
Yeah.
Then you've got John Bullock, who was on the roster as the special teams player. When they brought JPP up to the active roster, they had to make a roster move. They cut him. They wanted to put him back in the practice squad. The Colts actually snatched him off of waivers before they could do that. So they're down to 2 inside linebackers. But there's another position of need on the defensive front, not just outside linebacker, but also defensive tackle. What happens when Kalijah Cancy misses 14 out of 17 games, Matt? It's not good.
No, it's not.
One of the players that we have the Bucs selecting in the 2nd round is Lee Hunter, the defensive tackle from Texas Tech. Josh Capo did a feature on him, so make sure you check out PewterReport.com for that scouting report. I love me some Texas Tech Red Raiders.
Yeah.
So if the Buccaneers
stress every position.
Yeah, exactly. If they came away with Romelo Height and Lee Hunter and Jacob Rodriguez, sign me up, because I've watched, I think, every Texas Tech game this year, maybe except for one. But this is a hell on wheels defense. I absolutely loved it. I had the weirdest experience watching my Kansas State Wildcats get eaten alive by the Red Raiders and actually enjoying it. I was a bit of a sick alumni.
Right. It's like
day.
You hate it, but you respect it.
Yes, exactly. I was like, oh, wow, J-Rod just forced another fumble. Yeah. Yay. Oh, wait a minute. Go Cats, But yeah, that's just how it was. I mean, I respect the hell out of Texas Tech's defense. And Lee Hunter is actually from the state of Florida. He played 3 years at UCF. Charge on, Bailey Adams.
As he left the room.
As he left the room for his charge on.
They got a USF Bowl as well. Oh, my God. Not irony, but
the war on I-4.
Yeah, the war on I-4. That's what it definitely is.
But this is a big guy, 6'4", 330 pounds. He's more like a 3 technique in terms of how he moves than he is a nose tackle, because while he has size, he's got to learn how to anticipate the double teams better and faster, so he can anchor more with more gusto. Because despite his size, he gets blown back a little bit on the double teams. But what I love about him too is I look for the consistency, right? Show me who you are over a span of years. The last 3 years, because he was a starter for the last 2 at UCF, then the final season at Texas Tech. 11 tackles for loss, 9.5 tackles for loss, 10.5 tackles for loss. That's who I'm getting. 3 sacks, 1 sack, 2.5 sacks. Mm-hmm. That's who I'm getting. I'm getting a guy that can disrupt, that can penetrate, that can occasionally get to the quarterback, but is going to get those tackles for loss, is going to be super effective in the run game, and is going to help guys on the edge like David Bailey, like Romelo Height. And we're talking about the Kalijah Cancy effect, having that penetrating defensive tackle, what it can do for your edge rushers. Skylar Gill-Howard, who was lost for half the season for Texas Tech, he's the other tackle, 6'1", 190. But really, it was Lee Hunter who was the driving force in the middle, creating havoc and forcing those quarterbacks to go right towards Bailey or Height so they could collect some sacks. This guy right here, given his size and given his quickness, if you were to take the love child of Vita Vea and Kalijah Cancy, that's who this guy is. He's bigger than Cancy. He's not quite as big as Vita Vea.
Right.
Not quite as powerful as Vita. Not quite as quick as Kalijah, but has more power than Kalijah and more quickness than Vita Vea. So if you're looking for a guy to come in, and they're going to need a defensive tackle, right?
Yeah.
Logan Hall's gone. I'd love to see them turn the page on Greg Gaines. I think they can upgrade the depth of defensive tackle. Yeah. With Vita Vea, Matt, going to be 31 this offseason, entering a contract year.
Season, yeah.
This team, believe it or not, everyone's looking at edge rusher and inside linebacker. Defensive tackle is a pressing need, whether it's addressed in free agency, the draft, or both this year.
There's no doubt about it. And with Hunter, when you're playing with a lot of talent, this goes for anyone, it can be looked at 2 different ways. One, okay, you were a benefit of all the talent around you. Or 2, you made the talent around you better with your contributions. Yeah. And I think that's the latter for Hunter. And I thought Josh did a great job in his write-up talking about how the double team is one thing, but how he's kind of making the run stopping instrumental, where he's creating those pathways for Jacob Rodriguez to make the tackle, or what you were talking about with Height and Bailey as well, where he's controlling what he needs to in the run game to open it up for everybody else. And the fact that he's got a little bit of a pass rushing ability, we saw when the Bucs were being successful getting to the quarterback, not this season, but the last 2 seasons prior, it was Vita Vea leading the team in sacks and Kalijah Cancy. Now, I'd still like to see an edge rusher lead the team in sacks, but if that's going to be the recipe for success for this team, then so be it.
Exactly. When it comes to recipes for success, let's say maybe you're going to have like a big, I can't use the term SB, but the championship game for the Pro Football League that we're covering, that game, trophy. Where there's a trophy, the game that's played in February for that game. Maybe you want some catering for that particular game. Well, you should get some catering and get it from Walk-Ons. You don't have to cook your food. Let Walk-Ons do it for you. Let Walk-Ons serve up the win with their catering. So whether it's for any occasion or maybe a big game, You can take your event to the next level with the new catering program from Walk-Ons. You can order directly online at catering.walkons.com or on the Walk-Ons app. And then you just simply pick it up at whatever location you choose to have the food prepared. Wesley Chapel, Midtown Tampa, or Lakeland. And as Matt Matera was talking about before, not sure if you know this, Walk-Ons has got the best happy hour in the Tampa Bay area. You might have already experienced it today because Monday they have it from 3 to close. Tuesday, all-day happy hour plus $5 Tito's. Wednesday and Thursday, 2 sets of happy hours from 3 to 6 and 9 to close. And then the final happy hour of the week from 3 to 6 on Fridays. You can get $3.99 domestic pints, $5 for the premium house pours or happy hour wines, $5.49 for the 22-ounce domestic drafts, $4 for those hush puppies or onion rings, $7 for the boom boom shrimp, and half order of the waffle cheese fries, or Ashley and I's favorite, the spinach and artichoke dip, huge helping of that. $8 boneless wings or cheeseburger sliders. Folks, the cheeseburger sliders are the best around. So if you've yet to experience Walk-Ons, well, be a winner. Eat like a winner. Drink like a champ. Get into Walk-Ons. Try their food. Not a bad seat in the house. TVs galore, and even catering. Make sure you check out Walk-Ons. 3 Tampa Bay locations to serve you. Midtown Tampa, Wesley Chapel, and Lakeland.
Got some super chats to get to.
Let's
rock and roll with that. First of all, earlier in the day, with a Cody Mauch profile pic, Lewis became a Pewter Report YouTube channel member. So thank you so much, Lewis. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Awesome picture as well. I hope you comment often so we can continue to see that college picture of Cody Mauch. But moving on, $1.99 super chat from Batman. Thank you so much, Batman, for the super chat and for protecting the streets of Gotham.
Yes.
Says Styles 1, Rodriguez 2. Sign me up.
There's your linebacking core right there.
I agree.
I'm not sure if Todd Bowles necessarily wants to roll with 2 rookies at linebacker in a make or break year. But if you were going to pick 2 guys, I would take the chance on those 2 guys more than maybe any other linebackers in this league to come in from a cerebral and playmaking standpoint. Yeah. That would be one heck of a 1-2 punch. And it sets you up for a long time at that linebacker position in Tampa Bay. Folks, we've got a special podcast we're going to be giving you guys tomorrow because the Bucs' new offensive coordinator, Zack Robinson, is going to be holding a press conference at 1 o'clock Eastern time. And about 1:30 Eastern time, we're going to be having our reaction to that right before we head off into the frozen tundra of Mobile, Alabama, to watch a couple Senior Bowl practices. Matt and I are going to be talking about what we liked, maybe what we didn't like, but hopefully it's all good news. Hopefully it's all positive vibes from the Zack Robinson press conference. So emergency podcast tomorrow, and that's going to be at 1:30 Eastern time, 12:30 here Central time in Alabama. And then we'll have our Senior Bowl wrap up for the draftniks out there. And any other Buccaneer news, we can touch on that. That'll be in a primetime podcast. We're determining what time that's going to be, but probably around the same time here. But this podcast tomorrow will be exclusively about Zack Robinson's press conference and the takeaways that we have. That's going to be at 1:30 Eastern time.
Yeah, we'll see what he has to say about Baker Mayfield, the wide receiver room, his thoughts on Bucky Irving. Obviously, he's not going to give away all the game plan, but you know, maybe a little bit of the utilization of how he'll get all of these players involved. Very excited for it tomorrow. The debut of Zack Robinson in a press conference form as offensive coordinator.
We've kind of hinted around Jacob Rodriguez. It's probably only fair that we kind of give our take on him. There's not a player that I'm looking forward to more than watching J-Rod, Hot Rod as I call him, because he's friggin' fantastic. This guy is an absolute turnover machine. It's obscene. I think he probably should be arrested for thievery just because he's taken the ball away so many times. And when I say a lot, folks, I mean, let me read off some statistics here, okay? First of all, he started off at Virginia as a quarterback. Okay? And then he made, that easy transition to linebacker.
No, of course, yes, the seamless transition.
But he's a smart guy. He understands football. He is heavily instinctive. And I thought he checked in pretty well from a size standpoint. There was some questions about his size. I'm curious what the arm length is, and where arm length factors in when it comes to linebackers is missed tackle rate. If you don't have the long arms to wrap up, sometimes you're going to have some tackles that you're going to miss and slip. But 6'1", 233, that's plenty of NFL size right there. But the production, the instincts are just off the friggin' charts. So he was a lifer at Texas Tech over the last 4 years. He wasn't one of those transfer guys that they bought in the portal.
Right.
J-Rod really had a fantastic junior season. Or I should say his first senior season. He's a fifth-year senior. He had 127 tackles, 10.5 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 1 interception, 4 passes defense, 2 fumble recoveries, including 1 for a touchdown, and 3 forced fumbles. Last year, when he was the Nagurski winner, when he was the Bednarik winner, he was the first-team All-American. He was the 5th runner-up in the Heisman Trophy voting. 128 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 4 interceptions, 6 pass breakups, 2 fumble recoveries, and 7 forced fumbles, including 2 against my Kansas State Wildcats that I was super excited to see in person. Folks, he's got 13 forced fumbles in his Texas Tech career. Okay? He is a ball hawk. The ball comes out. He has 6 career interceptions. That's more than a lot of defensive backs in this draft. Okay?
True.
12 pass breakups, 5 fumble recoveries. The ball finds him. He finds the ball. Both. 2 defensive touchdowns, including a 60-yard scoop and score. The tackle production's there, 317 tackles, 25.5 tackles for loss. He fills the stat sheet, man. I mean, there's not much to not like about this guy.
No, he does everything. I mean, that's the bottom line, is he does everything. And you called him Hot Rod before, and it reminds me of this great scene in the movie Hot Rod where Andy Samberg's character goes to his friend, they're saying goodbye or hello, or I think goodbye, and he goes, "Gods of war, may your hammer be mighty." And that's Jacob Rodriguez. He plays like Thor with the hammer, whether it's physical, whether it's taking the ball away, forcing fumbles. He just does a little bit of everything, and he's the leader of the defense. So anticipation, IQ off the charts, knowing when the play is going to happen, where it's going to be. He checks every single box there. So I think you hit the nail on the head perfectly with him.
And you know what? He's not a first-round pick. He's probably going to run like a 4.7 or something like that. And
good, let him drop.
Yeah, exactly.
Let him drop and go to the Bucs.
He's a day 2 guy, probably in the second round. Maybe he falls to the 3rd round. I think this week he can solidify himself as a second-round pick. But this is the kind of player that I wouldn't be surprised if 2 years from now we're saying he should be drafted in the top 10.
Yeah.
You know? But just the arms were short, didn't run the fast 40-yard dash time, whatever. I don't know, man. He's a football player. And you know, when you look at what Tampa Bay has drafted, Matt, and we've kind of lamented on this, and it's not going to be the last time you've heard this from us. JTS, right? Body of Adonis, looked like a Greek god, you know, had no instincts as a pass rusher. Chris Braswell, 4.6, 40-yard dash time as an outside linebacker. You're not running 40 yards, man. Not when you're trying to turn the corner and get to the quarterback.
Yeah, he made some special teams tackles.
That's what he's good at.
His style.
He's good at special teams tackles.
Yeah, when they're 60 yards out.
Logan Hall, you know, all these guys that have the high RAS scores.
More like Slogan Hall.
Yeah. You know, they're not checking boxes, man. They're not checking instinct, toughness, football players, football IQ, takeaways. They're just, you know, I'm hopeful. I really hope, Matt. You know, we talk about the myth, the legends, the mysterious David Walker. Like, what could have been? Like, who is this guy, right?
Yeah.
But you know what I like about him? Central Arkansas, 39.5 sacks. You've seen him in the locker room, 6'1", 260. He didn't look like a football player.
No.
But he plays like a football player. You know who else didn't look like a football player? Rondé Barber, 5'10", 180. Derek Brooks, 6 foot 220. He's like 215 coming out of Florida State. You know, John Lynch, Mike Allstott.
Looked like a baseball player.
Yeah, exactly. John Lynch looked like a pitcher, not a safety, right? So it just, maybe the Bucs get back to that. Maybe they just say, find us tough, instinctive, physical, hard-nosed, gritty football players with enough athleticism, right? With NFL caliber athleticism, but they don't have to be Zion McCollum, who is a better athlete than he is an instinctive cornerback. You know, I think they've strayed from what has got this franchise, and you saw it in Raise the Flags, man. These Hall of Famers, like, none of them look like they're the prototype from a physical standpoint, it's not Rondé Barber's. He's not the prototypical cornerback. Neither is Derek Brooks the prototypical linebacker. Warren Sapp, 6'1", 315 pounds, 310 pounds. He's not the prototypical defensive tackle.
No.
But they're Hall of Famers because they're football players. So I'm just saying, I'm hopeful that with Tyke Smith and David Walker, that maybe Jason and that front office are starting to turn the page a little bit, lean more into those productive, instinctive football players that have a lot of production rather than the athletes.
It's the attitude and mindset too.
It
Kind of
is.
like, we were listening to Rondé's podcast on the way here and just hearing Rondé talk about how amped and angry he was that
he's an angry
that
worker.
Brian Kelly didn't make the Pro. Not even himself. That Brian Kelly didn't make the Pro Bowl when the Pro Bowl mattered. We can talk about that a little bit later.
Yes.
But I mean, the attitude. We've heard thousands of times about Warren Sapp and how he would rile people up.
Yeah.
And how when they were going into San Diego, they talked about it and raised the flags. How he's like, not today, not today. And
that was the game, man. They turned from the Buccaneers to the Buccaneers. I was there for that in San Diego. Yeah.
Now it's just, how do you find that, that person with the mentality stuff? Because you can interview people and they'll say one thing, but do they mean it? So that's the other side of it.
Yep.
Kings are awful. Thank you for the $2 super chat. Says, past 5 seasons, what stars has Jason Light found there?
We mentioned a couple like Yaya Diaby, Jacob Parrish, Tyke Smith. Those are the first 3 names that really come to mind that are good football players. Now, can they take the next step? I'm curious to see. And I think Rashad Johnson is going to be the cornerbacks coach. They haven't made that announcement yet. Maybe they go in a different direction. Anybody's better than Kevin Ross. But Jacob Parrish, I want to see with better coaching how he can ascend. Same with Tyke Smith. I think better coaching, he can take off. If you don't think coaching matters, ask Rondé Barber the difference between Herm Edwards and Mike Tomlin.
You play to win the game.
Yeah, and what that change did for his career and Brian Kelly's career and some of these other defensive backs. Not saying Herm wasn't good, just Mike Tomlin was just more effective, just a better coach in terms of secondary. So, I mean, I think those 3 players are some players that are good, and they still have a chance to.
Luke Gedeke,
Luke Gedeke, Cody Mauch. Those are some players that were here that have played pretty well.
Yeah, it's tough to say stars, but certainly good players that are progressing as well, which I think is important. You're not always going to see the finished product right away. And what's the alternative? Are they not supposed to go to the Senior Bowl?
Yeah.
Should they just not draft players at all from there? So, John V23 on X. Feel like we should just address this real quick because you're talking about it. After Shador made the Pro Bowl, can we at least stop saying Light hasn't drafted a Pro Bowl?
Yeah, exactly.
In X amount of years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And a little birdie told me that Trevor Lawrence actually was asked ahead of Shador Sanders. I don't think it's been reported, but Trevor actually opted out of the Pro Bowl because it's a joke. It's like football games. All it is.
Because that's what I was thinking. Obviously, we knew Drake May wasn't going to the Pro Bowl because he's going to the Super Bowl. Yep. So that opened up a spot. Right. I don't think whoever's in charge of making those decisions are going, okay, who's next on our list? Shador Sanders. Yeah. Yes, of course. No, they had to go to a couple different people who likely declined, and then Shador's in because why wouldn't Shador do it? He's, kind of has to.
If you remember, Jameis Winston made his lone Pro Bowl his rookie season, and he was like a 5th or 6th alternate. Same kind of process, although Jameis actually had a positive touchdown interception ratio, not the inverse. Of
Plus, if we knew what he'd become, then we would have known that he deserved to go.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Kings are awful. Thank you for this $2 super chat. Says Light ready to open up the premium wallet for free agency.
Maybe we'll see. I think the one thing that Jason's always told me, and it really rings true, is okay, who's available, right? Because, for example, Mike Evans is slated to be a free agent.
That he is.
He's going to come back to Tampa, or he's going to retire. I don't see him going anywhere else, right? So again, other teams might be saying, "Oh, well, Mike Evans is going to be a free agent." Well, no, he's not, right? So that's the one thing. Who actually makes it to free agency? Who actually avoids the franchise tag? Who avoids getting re-signed? Which players actually make it? That's why it's so hard to do. And we used to do it way back in the day. We used to do Bucs best bets for free agency. We used to do free agent drafts like we do with the draft. I know, for example, Reuben Bain is going to be drafted by somebody. He is going to be available, right? No. The Bucs can get him if they want. If they want to trade every draft pick or however many it's going to
Do the
take to
Mike
get
Vick train.
Yeah, they can go get him. He is available. But like, for example, some player, like let's say the Bengals want to put the franchise tag on Trey Hendrickson again, right? I mean, he's not available, right? So, or if they re-sign him, which they're not going to do either one, but I'm just saying, teams can take free agents off the table before they hit the market. So when you say, is he ready to open the premium wallet, it depends on who's out there, what the cost is, and all of that. I think that this is probably going to be a season where Todd Bowles will probably be like, hey, Jason, let's go get some free agents, huh? Because he's on the hot seat, But this is not a great year for free agents as it stands right now. And we'll see who's available. This team does need, though, they can't rely on the draft. And the problem is if you wait for the draft to address a lot of needs, if you skip over free agency, then the draft may not fall your way.
Exactly.
You may not be able to get the inside linebacker, the edge rusher, and the defensive tackle you need. 1, 2, 3, or whatever. You might have to settle for a way later inside linebacker than you want. Then you end up with Servastier Dennis.
Yeah, that kind of happened last season as well with like not finding the inside linebacker. That you want. Yeah, so like free agency is important. If there are players that do get through, that whole process and are available, I would like them to, if in the right setting, take a chance on a player, because it would be a little bit different than what Jason Light has done in recent seasons, kind of looking for the bargain deal like Hassan Reddick, even though that was, little chunk of change for Hassan Reddick in that one. But yeah, I mean, good teams, they fill certain spots through free agency, but still build through the draft. I just don't want Jason to like be afraid to give up a draft pick. It's like, this draft pick could be somewhat amazing, but sometimes you got to spend a little to make a little. And I think that's the case that the Bucs are in.
I agree.
Let's go to T Level. Thank you for this $2 super chat. Says Robinson needs a tight end.
Yeah. He's not Kate Otten. I say that with Josh Capo in the ring, of course. Josh Capo and I just had a point-counterpoint today that you can read on PewterReport.com, where Josh is pro-Kate Otten and I am not so pro-Kate Otten. I'm not saying I'm not anti-Kate, but I want to reasonably price Kate. I like Kate a lot better on his rookie deal. The $11 million scares the hell out of me. I don't think that's anywhere near what he's worth. Maybe cut that in half, 5.5, $6 million. Yeah, I think maybe you bring him back for 1 year. But they do need a tight end. I love me some Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon. I know that everyone's screaming defense. I think the dude is kind of a real deal. He is. That's a position that if you got him, and see, here's the problem, Matt. Right? Let's say they don't re-sign Kate Otten, and let's say Kyle Pitts goes somewhere else, and there's just nobody else out there in terms of that. This is not a great tight end draft whatsoever. And so then if you don't get Kenyon Sadiq, you could actually take a step back at the tight end position by waiting to fill that in the draft, because this is just kind of a blah tight end draft. Even the tight ends here are kind of blah. So, that's why we had Rohan Jones from Arkansas, who also was a star at Montana State and Maine before that, as the 7th round pick in our mock draft, because he's kind of like Kenyon Sadiq light. So we'll see how it pans out.
Definitely a mismatch for the opposing defense, which I think is like kind of the biggest advantage for Tampa Bay. But then we also said, they could just do it with all the talent they have at wide receiver, especially if Mike Evans comes back. So that'll be on you, Z-Rob.
That's right.
Robinson. Meets McGee, thank you for the $2 super chat. Says, is Nick Herbig untouchable? What would it cost?
Yeah, it's an interesting question now, because there's been a regime change in terms of the coaching staff. The GM is still in Pittsburgh, obviously, but how does Mike McCarthy feel? How does the defensive coordinator he's going to bring feel about Nick Herbig? Is he going to be a great scheme fit for what Pittsburgh's going to ultimately run? Those are some questions Pittsburgh has to decide. And then if I'm Jason Light, I'm calling, because he is a player, we mentioned him earlier in the show, like Nick Pitino, that undersized, just absolute juice guy. He's kind of scheme specific. He is a player that is maybe not an every down edge rusher because of his size. You can run at him. He's built like a linebacker. He's about 235 pounds. So that's Romelo Height we were talking about in this year's draft. So I love me some pass rush. So if the answer is should they try to get him? Yeah, let's see what let's see how much he's worth in terms of the Steelers' eyes, and but don't stop there. Don't just get Nick Herbig and David Walker. Draft another guy.
Even if it's like, I know the chances of this, we'll see, but like even if they trade for Max Crosby, it's like don't stop adding edge rushers, even if that's the guy. But Herbig, I love seeing all the Steelers people freak out. They're like, he played 16 snaps and he gets a sack, like 4 on 16 snaps and everything like that. So anyone that can get after the quarterback is who the Bucs need. I don't care if you're 7 feet tall, 4 feet tall, 300 pounds, or 165 pounds. Right. If you can get to the quarterback, you're a fit for
you can be a giant or a dwarf. Just get after the quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. Low Country Pirate wanted to get to this comment. Says, can we steal anyone from the Jags? So let's just go back and forth with Liam. Yeah, so a little bit of Bucs non-draft news is Brian Picucci going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And it's almost, I don't want to say fitting because this doesn't help the Bucs, but we were like right in this room last year when Liam Cohen was doing the Duval. And then we talked about how weird it was. So a year later, now he's taking Brian Picucci. Yeah.
You know what? If you have to lose one of those 2 offensive line coaches, give me Kevin Carberry to stay, and that's what ended up happening. Picucci was someone that he had at Kentucky as his offensive line coach there. Someone that I think he was actually with at UMass. So they're like long lost pals. So I think the Buccaneers kept the right offensive line coach in Kevin Carberry, who got promoted to the run game coordinator job last year after the 2024 season. So I think that's okay. And also, do you want Zack Robinson to kind of put his flavor on this coaching staff a little bit?
Yeah, that's totally fine. So as long as they don't lose Kevin Carberry, they're still fine in that situation.
Kevin Carberry is a savant when it comes to coaching the line.
Yeah, former New York Dragon great in the Arena Football League. SRQ Salt, thank you for the $4.99. Says, do you think the Bucs are more likely to target an inside linebacker or edge in free agency? Which position is deeper in the draft? I think Mesidor is the Tristan Wirfs edge in the draft.
I love me some Akeem Mesidor. I think he's phenomenal. Listen, you're going to need 2 linebackers. I think one of those players, and we're going to set Servasi Dennis aside for a second.
Yeah, take a seat, Servasi.
Yeah, he does have experience. Todd Bowles loves people who know his system. He appreciates the cerebral, high football IQ from the neck up type of approach. But the thing with Servasi is he's in the contract year. You want to upgrade. He's somebody that you want to find a replacement for, or either push him to be great or push him out of the way. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Someone like Quincy Williams from the Jets just seems like that's kind of a good Bucs stopgap player. To be 29 years old, athletic player, been on the Bucs radar for a little bit. Someone like that, Nakobe Dean is another player.
Don't make a scene.
I would love to see this team get a veteran linebacker, just because Bowles' system is complicated. It's complex. There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
There's not really a base defense, as Ronnie Barber is famous for saying. He's actually true. It's a situation where he's got somebody that can play traffic cop, somebody that can make all the calls and the adjustments. You really don't want a rookie for that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind a rookie right next to him, right? You pair a premium draft pick with a Nakobe Dean, with a Quincy Williams. Something like that I think is good. In terms of edge rusher, again, you got to see who actually makes it to free agency and then who's available via trade. No.
I kind of would love if the Bucs drafted, whether it's edge rusher or inside linebacker, drafted 2 at the position and then signed someone at the position as well. But Josh brought up as well inside linebacker free agency. Devin Bush, he wrote up about him as well, would certainly be a fit. Alex Anzalone as well, just in terms of availability.
Also, Devin Lloyd, and it's interesting because the Jaguars
did steal from Jacksonville.
Yes, that game. There you go. The Jaguars didn't pick up his 5th-year option, but Devin Lloyd balled out this year. Had a pick 6 against Kansas City. Had several interceptions. Had a really good year. I think the Bucs are a little kind of I'll say hot and cold, but like lukewarm on him. But he's going to be another player that will be an option, and we'll see if he gets out of Jacksonville, or if Jacksonville says, "Hey, we made a mistake. Let's get you back." So yeah, we'll see. I'm curious again to see who makes it to free agency. That's always the caveat. That's why we spend a little bit more time, honestly, talking about the draft, because we know who is going to be available for teams like the Bucs to draft. Whereas free agency, you don't know until they actually hit the free agent market in March.
And there's always different waves of free agency as well. There's the initial one, where it's the start of the new year in March. Then there's kind of like a second wave, and then there's like another wave in training camp. And some guys like that's when the Bucs famously got Leonard Fournette right before the start of the season in 2020, and then went on to see Lombardi Lenny as the Bucs won a Super Bowl. So different waves of free agency for sure.
Yep. Well, there's also waves when it comes to retirement, because if you're in your 40s or 50s, retirement might be a couple decades away. But if you're in your 60s or 70s, that wave is crashing pretty quickly. And you got to know how much you're actually going to need saved up for your retirement if you want to retire. And the folks at Immuni Financial can help you find that out.
Will your savings last through retirement? Most people plan for 10 years. A retirement can last 30. Healthcare, taxes, market swings, it all adds up. Take our quiz. Check your retirement readiness today. Immuni Financial.
Immuni Financial sponsors the Bucs mailbag every Monday on PewterReport.com. If you haven't had a chance to read that, check it out. It's one of the columns I do each week on PewterReport.com. As I mentioned, we also have Point Counterpoint that we didn't do on Thursday because, I don't know, they hired an offensive coordinator on Thursday. Busy. We were a little busy, but we have Point Counterpoint. Josh and I, we tackled the Kate Otten question today. That's also on PewterReport.com. But the folks over at Immuni Financial, they want to know, will your savings last through retirement? Well, help find out. Get some help from the folks at Immuni Financial. Take the 2-minute quiz. You can scan the QR code, or you can visit them on the web at immuni.com/retire. That is a great quiz. I've taken it myself. You don't have to be an Immuni Financial customer. They'd love for you to become one, but there's no obligation to do that. But it's a great tool. The folks over at Immuni Financial just want to help you get enough money to retire. And I can say with authority, I have a lot of my financial investments with Immuni. I'm thrilled with the results I've gotten from them over the years. It's a great company to work with. They're located in St. Petersburg, but whether you're in the Tampa Bay area, across the state of Florida, or across the continental United States, you can get the help that you need from Immuni Financial. They service all 50 states. Again, immuni.com/retire, or scan the QR code to take that 2-minute quiz.
And just a reminder for everybody, tomorrow we got a quick turnaround because we're doing an emergency podcast after we hear from Bucs offensive coordinator Zack Robinson, the new OC for Tampa Bay. We will be going live with an emergency podcast reacting to everything he had to say, what we liked, what we didn't like, and just general curiosities of what went on during said podcast. So that'll be tomorrow. Around 1:30, 2 o'clock Eastern, depending on when everything finishes up.
Yeah. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to freezing our butts off tomorrow at a practice, because high is going to be in the 40s, wind chills in the 20s, but we're going to be out there, damn it, watching college football one more time as these players transition from college to pro. And what's also fun about this week is, aside from the Alabama barbecue we get to eat, it's seeing these players do more than just 40-yard dashes and vertical jumps and cone drills and all that. They're actually playing football. They're actually going head-to-head in these one-on-one drills. We get to see their competitive nature. We get to interview these players. And again, the Buccaneers draft a lot of Senior Bowl prospects, 32, according to Bailey Adams. And I believe him, because Bailey knows his shit.
That's why he's RBA. That's
right, RBA. And we're going to be here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we'll hit the road on Thursday after practice. Practices start tomorrow in the afternoon, 2 sessions, 1:30, and then I think 3:30, and they wrap up at 5:30 when it's cold, dark. And did I mention cold? It'll be cold then. Yeah. But we're here for you, and we'll have some podcasts too tomorrow, the Zack Robinson podcast, then a primetime podcast again, then another primetime podcast on Wednesday, and then we're hitting the road back to warm, sunny Florida. Hopefully it'll be warm by then.
Yeah, that's
on Thursday.
One good dream.
Yeah.
And if you're not already doing so, please make sure you follow us on all of our social media, on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment on this video who you're excited to see at the Senior Bowl, or someone you think the Bucs should draft in this year's draft. But that's it for tonight's show. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.
Out.